you are no stranger to success. However, you live for the moment that you get to take some time off, be it a vacation, a day trip, some time with the kids or with the girls or the guys. And when you have that moment off, the one thing you've been wanting so much is to relax. You have that time off. You were planning to just be laid back, enjoy your days, enjoy your trip, whatever the case may be, and you find that you cannot relax. I want you to know that that is not a you problem, and it's not even really a nervous system problem. It is a symptom of something else. My name's Penny. If you've never been here before, I'm a board certified hypnotist, but I spent 25 years in healthcare, 15 of that as a nurse anesthetist before I quit and walked away to go full time in helping people tap into who they truly are so that they can live the life that fulfills them and allows them to express themselves however they choose to, because I don't decide what that looks like. You do. So, what is it that causes this to be a symptom? I see this in high achievers all the time. I've seen it in multi 7 and even 8-figure business owners. They grow a business and they grow a team and they have all of the support. They are in the position that they can have a freedom lifestyle. Or maybe you're in corporate and you're accustomed to being busy all the time, and now you have this time off and you just can't relax. There are 2 or 3 things that could be happening here, and I'm going to break them down for you. The first and the most easy is that when we've been in a state of being productive and busy, and I really shouldn't say that because busyness does not mean productive. We can be very busy and not be getting anything done at all that is going to move the needle or matter. And that's for my people who are my newer entrepreneurs, my 6-figure entrepreneurs. You can be extremely busy and not be productive at all. And so one of the other mechanisms I'm going to share later in the video, that's going to apply to you. But when you've been in this space of growing and achieving, climbing the corporate ladder, building your business, or maybe you were doing career and kids all at the same time, and now the kids have left the house and you can't be still. What's happened is the easiest one is that your brain has become conditioned to being busy. It has just become conditioned to being busy. So you might really just not even be sure what to do with yourself. It's not a feeling I've got to be doing something. It's I just don't know what to do with myself. What am I supposed to do? And so what you have here is you have an identity mismatch. You've, for all these years, you've had this identity of always being busy, working, going, doing, available, whatever it is. And now that you've reached this spot where you're simply don't have to be busy anymore, there's an identity mismatch. And we can, if it's pure conditioning, then what we have to do is simply retrain the nervous system. And there are a few ways to do that. One is when you catch yourself saying, I've got to be doing something, you can say, you know what? Relaxing by the pool for an afternoon is doing something. Going for a hike is doing something. Spending time with the kids, that is doing something. And it feels uncomfortable at first because people will say, when you step out of your comfort zone, like there's fear, it's not always fear. What became extremely comfortable was being busy. In this situation, you're not afraid of not being busy. What it is the brain. It's been so long since you've let yourself pause and relax. Your brain is going, this is not familiar. This is not what I'm used to. And it's not fear. It's one of the reasons why when I'm talking to people and I'm talking about stepping outside of their comfort zone, I tell them we're stepping into the growth zone. And the growth zone is the playground of possibility. Remember, I'm a hypnotist. Words matter very freaking much. If we tell ourselves, oh, it's normal to feel fear when you step out of your comfort zone, what are we doing? We're programming the brain, the mind, to be afraid when we do something new and different. You take two people, you take them to the amusement park, and you're going to put them on the biggest roller coaster there. One loves roller coasters. The other one is terrified of roller coasters. They both get on the roller coaster. They both have their adrenaline and their dopamine and everything spike out of this world. The same chemical response, except they're putting two different meanings on it. So the meaning you put on things is so important. So to go back to that scenario, being busy became your normal. Being busy became your normal. So now we get to hit the reset. Some ways to make that go easier is most definitely using hypnosis or self-hypnosis so that you can just retrain the body. If there are no beliefs underneath the surface, and we're going to get to that in a moment, so you'll know if you have those beliefs. If it's just simply that it's a new state of being, then hypnosis audios and learning self-hypnosis, where you visualize yourself enjoying and appreciating and being somebody who's relaxed and that doing things that you enjoy, that's meaningful. Being busy, work-related kids, like, those things had a place, but that doing something that matters to you, that's effective. That's doing something worthwhile. You're worthy of that. That is productive because it nourishes you from the inside out. You're good, you're golden. If you feel fear, if you feel anxious symptoms, I can't say anxiety because that's technically a diagnosable term. If you feel anxious symptoms when you aren't busy, you're off with family, you're taking a day off, you're off with the girls, the guys, whatever. If your mind is constantly feeding you, you really should be working, you should be doing this, this is a waste of time, this isn't very productive. If you have a narrative going in your head, and that narrative is telling you that you shouldn't be in that space doing that, then you have a belief underneath the issue. You have a story, you have a belief, or you have a memory filed away where you saw something and you learned at some point in your life that if you weren't busy, that there was going to be some negative consequence to the sense of who you are, your survivability, your safety, your security, your connection, your value to the world. You've picked up something somewhere, and it could be more than one something. You've picked up something somewhere that is telling you that you have to be busy in order to be doing the right thing. Perception, fear, it could be around money, right? This is one of the ones that just blew me away once, was that someone was struggling so much. They had the team in place. They had a money that was bringing in multiple millions per year. Things were smooth sailing. They couldn't rest. They couldn't relax. They couldn't turn things over to the team. And what it came down to was, as a child, they heard on repeat their parents talking about people who had money, and the parents' perception was the person had not worked hard for the money, and this person was carrying the belief the father was a blue-collar worker. They felt that they would be disappointing their father and they would be letting him down if they allowed themselves to rest, and they were still going 60, 70, 80 hours a week in the business. And that was the underlying belief. And they knew that wasn't true. They knew he would be proud of them, but this was rooted in the subconscious. So it took that deeper hypnosis identity work to shift that so that they could let themselves, they already knew they had a team they could trust. They didn't fear trusting their team or anything like that. It was all about acceptance and belonging. And this story had just stuck. This idea had stuck. Hearing the parents say that about other people, it stuck. So that's an example of how when you have that busyness, that need to be doing something, it's a symptom. There's something else running underneath the surface. And then other times, busyness, this inability to relax, that can be an avoidance mechanism for your mind having the space to become aware of something that you're experiencing internal that the mind doesn't want you to experience. So what do I mean? When I had, I call it my mental wellness crisis in 2017, if I was awake 18 hours of the day, I was working or doing something 18 hours of the day. If I wasn't asleep, I was busy. And I called myself being productive and trying to catch up because we moved halfway across the country. I had a new job. The job had crazy hours. And there was so much to be done here on the farm because the last years that my dad and stepmom were alive, there were things outside that got left to go. And there was just stuff that needed to be done outside. And I wanted to plant an herb garden, and we put in a pool, and we did all these things. I became a beekeeper for 3 years. I had beehives and I kept bees. And if I was awake, I was going. What I did not know at the time, when my father had passed away, and when his wife was sick, and when she passed away before that, I was working full time. I fell in love with hypnosis and decided to open a business. And then we ended up moving halfway across country. I was having to manage him from 1,300 miles away. After she passed away, I had to organize sitters and do all the things. I was always busy. What I did not realize, because I was not this deep into this work yet, is all that busyness that was keeping me from having to feel the grief. That was keeping me from feeling some emotions around some different situations that happened around each of their deaths. If you want to know who people really are in your life, let someone very close to you pass away and just watch how people behave. And that's all I'm going to say. So I had carried all of that. And so what I was doing is I was staying busy, because if I wasn't busy, my mind would have the opportunity to dwell on the grief and the anger that I was still carrying at that time. So this is deep work. It's identity work, but it's not work. Obviously, there comes a moment that if you're carrying things like this and you're dealing with something like I was dealing with back in 2017, where therapy, working with a licensed professional, is a must. My goal here is to help people see what's happening, so that if you happen to be someone who's numbing out from something that's internally painful and your brain just doesn't want you to feel it, so it's helping you to numb out. My goal is to help you to see what's happening before you ever get to a point where this is having a real negative impact on your life. Catch it while it's a nuisance and shift it and change it. Maybe you're staying busy all the time because you're actually not even happy doing what you're doing. But if you're busy, you're not thinking about the fact that you're not happy doing what you're doing. It sounds crazy, I know, but the brain is illogical. The mind is illogical, how it connects these dots in the way that it makes us feel. I teach others how to do this work. I teach others how to lead people from a place where they're not feeling fully into themselves. They're not happy. They're carrying beliefs, habits, behaviors, or they're having symptoms that they don't like, that they want to resolve. They want to live a good life. I teach others how to do that work. So if this is something that you're like, wow, this is really interesting, I would love to know more about how to help people do this. This is really intriguing. Then I'm going to put the link for the Elite Hypno Pro training in the description below. You can click that. You can get all of the details. If you're looking for one-on-one work, I'll put that link there too. But the most important thing that I want you to do, I want you to like this video. I want you to save this video so you can come back to it. And I want you to subscribe to the channel, because what that does is that tells YouTube that what you just watched matters, and they will push it out to more people who need to hear this message. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.